Architecture projects often start with what's already there. A house, a site, a series of opportunities. I believe the most interesting work comes out of uncovering the potential a house and a site already hold, and letting that potential reimagine and shape the way we think about living. This is the first in a series of videos where we explore architecture and design through a range of design and drawing exercises, rethinking ideas of living along the way. Specifically, we'll take a closer look at existing houses in and around Sydney and explore ways they could be reimagined. It's important to note that these videos will be speculative and will focus purely on conceptual design. What we'll come up with in the end won't necessarily be resolved solutions, but starting points for future discussion and exploration. Before we go any further, let's first establish the rules for the design exercise. Rule number 1. The project is an odds and ends project, so we have to work with the existing. Rule number 2. What we come up with in the end has to maintain and/or improve upon the spatial program of the house. Say for instance, if it's a 3-bedroom house to begin with, we have to end up with a 3-bedroom house in the end, or a 4-bedroom house. Today we'll be looking at a house at 29 Cambridge Avenue, Vaucluse. It's a 2-storey, 4-bedroom house sitting on a corner site, and I think it'll be a really interesting one to have a look at because of its peculiar floor planning and oddly arranged levels and spaces. So without further ado, let's get into it and dive in. Welcome to Reimagining Houses. I'm Ross Serrano, I'm a registered architect, and this is how I would reimagine this house. Starting off, let's get our bearings. We're east of the Sydney CBD, so if we follow the harbour coastline, we'll land in this peninsula known as Eastern Suburbs. Here you'll find Vaucluse, which is flanked by Rose Bay to the south and Watsons Bay to the north. Here we have 29 Cambridge Avenue. As mentioned earlier, it's a 2-storey, 4-bedroom house sitting on a corner block. Now, as we move around it, you can see there are some interesting things happening with the house, like multiple roofs, random steel pergola structures from the 90s, odd angles, and strangely arranged volumes of spaces. Now, just by looking at this 3D map of the house, it's fair to suggest that the house could benefit from a redesign and an upgrade. The site plan. Let's first note the northern orientation here. We should aim to focus our attention to the rear of the property. I think it's important that we introduce a connection between the back of the house to the rear yard and pool. The ground floor. Now, just adding the north point here for reference. Let's start at the front of the house, which is on the southern end. We've got the existing garage and existing bed floor and ensuite. I think these are in the right location and we can retain them here. Now, if we move to the middle of the house, we have the living spaces. I think these are in the wrong location and can be relocated to the back of the house. Now, I do like this external space here called the terrace. It has good northwestern aspect and a relationship with this living space, so that can stay. If we draw our attention to the back of the house now, where the kitchen and dining area is, I think these are in the wrong location and could benefit from moving towards the middle of the house. Now for the staircase, I believe this is in the wrong location. We should reserve this spot for the new living spaces so that they can face north and have a relationship to the backyard and pool. For the first floor, much like the ground floor, let's have a look at relocating this staircase, potentially to the side here. Now for the family room, I believe this is generally in the right location as it faces north and there's potential for it to have a connection to the backyard. As for the rest of the first floor, the level changes here need to be consolidated so that there's one single floor level, and the bedrooms and the bathrooms need to be efficiently redesigned. Let's look at some photos of the existing house. Cream interiors for the living room. A nice aerial shot of the location with the harbour in the background. Cream interiors again with varying ceiling levels. More cream interiors. Here's the awkward kitchen at the back of the house. Another angle of that kitchen. Here's the front of the house with the curved steel pergola. Here's the back of the house with the straight steel pergola. And more cream interiors. It's clear that the house is dated, so it's worth exploring the idea of redesigning the house or reimagining it and seeing what it could become. On that note, cue the design montage. Ladies and gentlemen, 29 Cambridge Avenue, reimagined. For the proposed ground floor, I've kept the garage and bed 4 and ensuite in the same location. Bed 4 now is renamed the guest suite. I've also retained the living space north of the garage. I think this space could serve as a really nice secondary living space that is secluded and can act as a quiet space. It is renamed media or rumpus, so it can just as well serve as a secondary space for the kids. It has good aspect to the north and a relationship to the rear lawn. For the middle of the house, I've located the new bathroom and new laundry here. The laundry will have access to a small external terrace on the eastern side of the house. As we move further slightly north, we have the kitchen and dining areas. I think these spaces have landed in the right location as they have easterly and westerly aspects. The kitchen facing east, which will get good morning sun, and the dining area with its inbuilt seat facing west, which will get good afternoon sun. The back of the house now has been redesigned slightly. Whilst maintaining the existing angular bend from the previous plan, I've utilised curves to soften this bend as we relocate the living room to this part of the house. The living room is now oriented north and has good connection to the rear yard and pool. The stairs have been relocated discreetly to the eastern side of the living area, and the new external barbecue is located on the western side. For the proposed first floor, I've removed the level changes here and consolidated the floor to have one single level. As we continue from the ground floor, we land at the top of the stairs facing the lounge area, which is connected to the balcony on the right. I've improved the connection between this lounge area and balcony to the rear yard and pool by shifting it further north. Moving into Hall 2, I've provided a wide corridor so that this space can double as a study space with desk and storage joinery. I've relocated the bedrooms and new bathroom to the western side, which will give them good visual connection to the rear lawn below. The master suite now occupies the southern end of the house at this level. It's generous and comfortable with a good sized walk-in robe, additional joinery for storage, and a large ensuite. Lastly, roof gardens here help provide outlook for the bedrooms at this level, as well as providing texture and colour to the architecture externally. Now, as we move to the eastern elevation, this elevation is meant to represent the entire material scheme for the external architecture. I've imagined a simple aesthetic here, one with simple roof structures and consolidated levels. The architecture I envision for the house is contemporary, made of concrete framework with infill walls clad with vertical timber cladding at ground level and horizontal timber cladding for the second story. I've shown spandrels finished in rough cast render, which will provide additional texture and weight to the building. The external facade now has a language that is considered and well aligned. For greenery, I've added new landscaping and roof gardens to help enhance the architecture by framing it within a luscious green setting and adding a softness to the overall architectural scheme. The levels externally have been consolidated to be one, with the pool area at the back here being lifted to be flush with the rear lawn level. Overall, this reimagining of the house ensures spaces have good flow, good orientation, and improved connections with the external spaces. I've taken advantage of its northern orientation to the rear and used that as one of the driving forces when redesigning the plan. I've maintained a good portion of the existing structure, particularly that angular bend at the back of the house, which allowed the opportunity to create an interesting living space towards the rear. I've maintained the same number of bedrooms and living spaces whilst improving the amenity of each space. I've allowed for spaces that bring people together for public celebrations, as well as spaces that are intimate and more private. In reimagining the architecture for this house, I've improved its planning, its levels, its volumes, and its materiality, keeping it simple, honest, and cleaner to navigate, resulting in a house that has a much more enjoyable aspect for living. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Ross Serrano, and I'll see you in the next one.